This was one of the most requested prospect rankings, being the receiving group. A lot of y'all want to know about the receiver. So here we are in the midway point of the college football season. Now let's talk about what receivers have really showed out and helped their draft stock. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. I am going to be including tight ends in here, so I'm only going to go over 5 because really I think there's really just 5 worth talking about at the current moment. So let's go ahead and start with those, with my number 5 being Sam Laporta. I got a 4th round grade on him. I promise after this it gets better. We talk about like the other 4 top 75 candidates for me, but Laporta was a former 3-star recruit out of the 2019 class. Saw a little bit of play during his freshman year, became the starter by the end of his freshman year, has been the starter ever since. He's got a very good receiving skill set. He shows good burst out of his breaks, very crisp route runner. He is a mismatch nightmare and consistently gets separation, which you love to see, man. You're going to need that in the NFL at the tight end position. He's got a little shiftiness and jitteriness to himself as well as a ball carrier. As you go back to last year, 10 forced missed tackles on only 53 receptions. And then he's got a very good sturdy base to absorb contact, relatively easy from secondary players. So you love to see that. He tracks the ball pretty darn well in air and adjusts his body to poorly thrown balls. If you're familiar with Iowa football, you know the quarterback position ain't so hot. Lots of poorly thrown passes out there, but he catches well in traffic. My biggest gripe with him is, well, one, you know, he's a bit inconsistent as a run blocker. That might be one of his biggest concerns, but also, where are the hands at, bro? He lacks ideal length, and there's not much pop to his hands. And his drop rate from 2020 to 2021 was 9.3%. You get to that 10%, you're kind of like, well, this year it's over 10%. So it's like, what the heck, dude? Honestly, that's my biggest gripe with him. And I just wouldn't touch this guy in the first 3 rounds. And even in the 4th round, I'm just kind of like, man, can we really do something about the hands? Can we? So Sam Laporta, barely number 5 on here. I'm also still a big fan of Jaheim Bell, but he's more of this F tight end. On to the next one, top 75, Darnell Washington. There's your big boy. He's a big boy, 6'7". Listed at 265, 270. I've seen both. But former 5-star recruit from the 2020 class, immediately was used as an extra blocker in that Georgia offense because you know they love to run the ball down in Georgia. I don't know if y'all Georgians talk that way. I'm pretty sure y'all don't. See, I spent a little time in Louisiana, so a little further south. But this dude's a locomotive. He's a great athlete for that size. He really is. And once he gets going, watch out. Good luck stopping him. That's scary. And then he's been very good at the contested catch over his career. He's got a big, sturdy base. And it's just not going to be easy bringing him down on forced tackles or on tackles in general. And sorry there, Jalen Catalon. Didn't mean to pull you up in that picture, but it's a good pitcher. And on top of that, we saw that at the beginning of the Oregon game. He threw out a hurdle. Holy freaking moly. And a lot of people, they're real high on this cat in terms of they're throwing him in the 1st round area. I'm not there with that because I still think there is limited upside as a receiver. You look at his skill set and it's that's all well and good in the red zone and as a run blocker, but he's not offering you much more than that, at least when it comes to the NFL level. Coming into the season, he only had 17 career receptions. The drop rate, because this isn't a guy with great ball skills. 15% missed drop rate through his career. That's down actually a little bit this year. And this guy's all straight line speed. There's no wiggle to this dude. So yeah, he's a great athlete. He's a big body dude that's a great straight line athlete. And you kind of gotta look at as such, but still a phenomenal athlete for the size. What he brings as easily the best run blocker in this class. is going to be really good as this NFL defenses are shifting to more of this too high, and they're taking guys out of the box. So you're going to want a tight end that could get that extra block at the second level. That's kind of Washington. So I kind of see him going to maybe a team that really more values maybe the run blocking from their tight end. Number 3 on here, Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State. He has missed the last 5 games with an injury. I can't remember specifically what it was, but in 2 games, man, he's shown what you want to see as a receiving target. You look at that size. It's good size. Like, this dude's a smooth mover. Like, and it's not even like he's a bad blocker. He's a good blocker, too. He does a great job at getting off the line, whether it's in line or in the slot. He has a good, long build. Just glides across the field with long strides. He's quick out of his breaks. He uses that length well at the top of routes. He's a consistent chain mover and has been a playmaker on special teams. And this dude had a block versus Utah and returned it for a touchdown. That was back last year. But again, what he can do on special teams, and he is a plus blocker, man. He really is. If I'm gonna really kind of like nitpick, because I wasn't exceptionally high, like I had him like early day 3 coming into this, but I full honestly believe what he can do as a receiver, at least what we saw through like the first 2 games, was like, you know what, that's good enough to like that probably scoots you in like the Greg Dulcich type of area in the draft. So we might be talking like 75 to like 90 in terms of what pick he would be around the draft, at least for me. But could add a bit more strength to the frame. There are times where he struggles to seal off the edge and usually needs to be in motion to lay a solid block. Had struggled with drops prior to this season. Coming in last season was 12%. This year, a lot better. And a guy that's his ball skills have gotten better year in and year out since he's been around for the Beavers. And he doesn't do a lot after the catch. Like, he goes out relatively quickly, but he's a guy that could definitely get the big play for you. So I can see why people are really high on Musgrave. And my number 2, I think he was he was my number 3 to start the year. Dalton Kincaid. I forgot that I really liked Eric Gilbert, and he's going to be nowhere to be found on this list. But Dalton Kincaid is legit. He was in the stock up a few weeks ago for that game against USC where he just went off. His team needed him to step up with Brant Kuithe down, and he was like, all right, I'm up for the task. If you're not familiar with his background, this cat was a receiver out of high school and moved to tight end once he got to San Diego, the University of San Diego. And it was really his sophomore year where he just kind of blew up there in the FCS, as he led yards per catch for tight ends and finished the year with over 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. Decided to transfer to Utah, where in 2021 was really the breakout campaign where he had over 500 touchdowns or 500 yards and 8 touchdowns. As you can see, he's already eclipsed his receiving total from the prior year, and he's well on moving past that touchdown total as well, man. This guy's so dangerous as a receiving threat. He's explosive off the line of scrimmage, creates separation out of his breaks, hasn't dropped a pass until this season. First drop of his entire career. You love the sure hands. This guy can get it done at the contested catch. He has been phenomenal the past 2 seasons. He just looks natural as a receiver, and he can shift gears throughout his route. As a blocker, he does a lot of things well, and it's something he's gotten much better at this season. Remember, this is a former receiver becoming a tight end. This dude, he sinks low, and he could deliver strong blows. But I wouldn't call him an elite run blocker. You're drafting this guy more so for the receiving upside, maybe adding a little bit more muscle, maybe in the lower body would help out as a blocker. But again, the dude's progressing so well in that regard, man. And like, he does a lot of things well at the beginning of the rep when it comes to blocking. He just needs to be a better finisher. There are times where he just whiffs on the second move of the defender. And it's like, it is what it is, you know. He did run a bit of the basic tight end route tree last season, which is, you know, your drags, your hitches, crossers, and such. And they've kind of expanded a bit more on that as they've needed him to be more of a receiving threat. And you know what, man, I love this cat. I really love this cat, man. Big fan, top 50 prospect for me. But everyone and their mom knew number one, Michael freaking Mayer, dude, out of Notre Dame. This cat was instantly, like, they were calling him Little Gronk the minute he arrived there for Notre Dame, and immediately kind of became a starter his freshman season, passing Tommy Tremble, who's now in the NFL for the Panthers. On the depth chart, might not be the most explosive guy, but dude has quick feet. His hands, uses them well during the route. They're also exceptionally sure hands. You know, this guy doesn't drop passes. He really doesn't. He offers a little bit after the catch in terms of just being hard to bring down. So he's a consistent chain mover, very good run blocker, and I mean, this is a cat that I'm saying he's a first rounder. Maybe that middle of the first round. If you're a team that's like, you know what, we want a tight end that just could do everything exceptionally well, can be that consistent, maybe security blanket for our quarterback. Because it's not like this guy he's not generational. He's not Kyle Pitts, you know. Fortunate for Kyle Pitts, man, he's having a down year. Really no fault of his own. They're not focusing on him in the offense. But, yeah, he's just not that type of athlete. He's just not, and that's fine. Like, for me, he's still a high-end athlete. For the position, a good, like, definitely above average athlete for the position, with sure hands, great blocker, can provide a little bit after the catch, having a banger year. So those are my tight ends. Let's go ahead, get to my receivers, starting with number 10, Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. Man, I'm not like exactly the biggest fan of Hutchinson, but I can't deny it, man, because I know Alex from Hail Mary Sports loves this guy, and we talk about him, and I'm just like, man, I don't know why I just can't get sold on him. I'm just not. But this dude attended and played for Blinn College. It was a community college for 2 seasons before he transferred to Iowa State. He's been a starter there since 2020. He's in his 3rd year with Iowa State. This guy's a long athlete. I love the length. He actually provides a lot after the catch as well. As if you look at it, this is a cat that can do it. Like, he's been doing it on screens. That's one thing. Iowa State, they love using this cat like on like drag screens or like just straight up vertical routes with no more than one move to them. So maybe in terms of like doesn't have the most complete route tree, but kind of is what it is, man. At 6'3", 205, he gets it done. Like, big catch radius, very good at the contested catch, can make guys block. He's very savvy. He knows when his quarterback's in trouble, he'll come back to the ball. And you just love that, man. You just love that. He's got very good straight line speed. Stop-start ability might not be all that, but it doesn't really need to be, man. He's a prototypical X in the NFL, having another good year for the Cyclones. On to number 9, Rashee Rice out of SMU, another guy having a very good year, former 3-star recruit from the 2019 class, and played in 10 games as a freshman, made 2 starts, then became the starter there from there on out in 2020. Very nice frame, uses those long arms to high point the football exceptionally well. He has the speed to legit run by defenders, and you won't find a more fierce competitor on the football field at the receiver position. I'm saying it. Than Rice, man. He's so tough to bring down after the catch. I love the balance he shows and the ability to absorb hits. While he won't always stretch the field, he knows how to open and extend plays, provided his provides his quarterback with a huge catch radius. It really does, man. He showed strong hands in 2021. Guy that just looks like he's going to be a reliable weapon at the next level, whether it's in the slot or on the outside. The route tree there at SMU, it is a bit simplistic. He doesn't exactly explode off the line, which explains why he was in the slot for much of 2021, but he's been getting it done on the outside this season. But does need to develop a bit as a route runner. Like, he's not the most crisp route runner. Really, this guy's at his best when you're just kind of throwing the ball at him in a contested catch opportunity, or with the ball just in his hands in general. Drops were something to monitor, as the rate really dropped in 2021, but he did have a problem prior to that. If you go to 2020, it was a 17.5 drop rate, and that's something that doesn't look like it's resurfaced, but something just to bring up to keep in the back of your mind. Big fan of Rice. Then I got Marvin Mims. I love this cat. I'm kind of thinking he's probably going to end up being a slot only, but it is what it is. Like, there's a place for guys like that. There's actually a couple of slot guys I'm going to talk about on this list that are just kind of favorites of mine. And Mims, man, this is the thing is with Mims, he isn't just a slot guy though. Like, he's played on the outside for a bulk of his career, and he's a guy that showed he can win on the outside in college football. I just kind of question, can he maintain that at the NFL level, considering 5'11", 184, not the biggest guy, not necessarily the smallest guy, but definitely not the biggest guy there. But he does a great job of tracking the ball while it's in air. He attacks to the catch point exceptionally well, 42% contested catch rate. That's actually pretty darn good. If you didn't know, when in the slot, he does a great job just finding soft spots in coverage, and he gets open quickly. Very savvy route runner, very good speed as well, and it just seems like he's open every play. Again, size is the biggest concern with me in terms of, can he play on the outside? If he is just a slot guy, then he's probably a guy you're going to be looking for maybe late day 2, early day 3. He is a bit inconsistent with putting up his hands for the catch, and will still sometimes kind of look upfield to make the play first. If you didn't know, those are called focus catches, or focus drops, I should say. And while he's never really had a like a drop ball problem, it is something you notice where there are times he gets to looking upfield before the ball, before he secures the catch. Also, he normally goes down after initial contact, and doesn't really have that elite stop-start ability as a pass catcher, but I'm a big fan of Mims. And then Parker Washington out of Penn State. I think he just actually had himself quite the game this past weekend. We get to see him go up against a very good Michigan defense, but a former four-star recruit out of 2020. Also ran track, has that track and field background. Love to see it. Him and Jahan Dotson tore up the Big Ten from 2020 to 2021, and now this year, I don't want to say he's doing it by himself, because he's got a very competent receiver next to him in Mitchell Tinsley, who's fairly solid. But dude, Washington's like a running back playing receiver. It feels that way. This is a guy that's probably a slot only. Like, he's almost used exclusively in the slot, but like with the ball in his hands, like, he's such a subtle, shifty, elusive playmaker as a ball carrier. He quickly turns into receiver to ball carrier real quick, and he has some strong, reliable hands. This guy constantly high points the football, does a good job of switching gears throughout his route and fluctuating that speed, adjusts to the ball so well in air, great body control, and this will be a plus. Very good as a run blocker, very physical. Now, does lack the ideal height and length for the position, and again, he's kind of pigeonholed in the slot because he rarely, if ever, plays on the outside, as 94% of his career snaps have come out of the slot. Contact balance can be a bit inconsistent. He is a bit hot and cold sometimes, as we've kind of seen that throughout this season, but also last year. There are times where like you look at it and it's like, oh, he's going to be a leader and miss tackles, but there are times where you're like, okay, where are these? It's like, oh, I get it. It's because he could rattle off one missed tackle after the other, and then he goes cold the next like couple of catches. And also, to be fair, in terms of if you're going to criticize his, I would say his production, I don't trust Sean Clifford. It's easy as that. Sean Clifford is an okay college quarterback. I'll just say that. But I'm actually a big fan of Parker. And then we got Jalen Hyatt, the guy. This is the guy probably a lot of people were waiting to hear about. and we're going to talk about him because he should have broke out in 2021, suffered a concussion in week 2, and it basically just at that point he was just in and out of the lineup the whole year. So now this year is his coming out party, even though I should have been a year prior. But this dude's a blazer. He boasts 4.3 speed. This is listed by Tennessee. You could see it on the field. Just explodes off the line of scrimmage and out of his breaks while sporting some of the nicest double moves you will see. He tracks the ball so well in air, and he shows very good body control and adjusting his body for the catch or to the pass. And he's put on significant weight to get stronger, and still has a lot more room to grow as he is a bit stick-like. But this dude is such a nightmare out in space. Like, I think he has that capability. I don't think I don't think he's just a vertical threat. I think he could definitely be a nightmare out in space just with his speed, his quicks. This is the thing, dude. Over 90% of his career snaps have come in the slot. So you might be looking at a guy that's pigeonholed into the slot when he gets into the NFL. And there is a lack of physicality. He does get knockoff routes relatively easy, goes down on initial contact. Like I said, he can be shifty, but if you do put a hand on him, then usually that he's going down. Really does nothing as a run blocker as of right now, but to be fair, putting that weight on, I would say he's made progress. Let's just call it that. Sometimes he does catch the ball with his pads as the drop rate has fluctuated, but dude, man, he's making that leap. I remember I put this note in the beginning of my after my summer deep dive, and I was like, he needs to take a big leap in 2022 if he wants to declare in 2023. And hats off to you. He did. Hyatt is legit. He's borderline top 50 for me right now. And then Josh Downs, top 50 prospect for me. Another guy that I really think might end up being pigeonholed into the slot. But we'll talk about it in a second. A 4-star recruit out of the 2020 class. He was stuck behind Daz Newsome and De'Ami Brown in 2020, but really broke out in 2021 and continues to have a good season this year as he missed a few games, but he's playing exceptionally well. His uncle is the defensive backs coach for UNC. So I wonder how that goes down when he's just toasting the secondary there in practice. But dude's a phenomenal athlete. Like, this dude's got legit speed. He plays twitched up, rare stop-start ability, and he was and it's a big reason why he's fed a lot of screens. And dude navigates like he's a ball carrier, like a running back. He navigates blocks off screens. Like, I love the vision. He explodes out his cuts. He turns upfield exceptionally fast. He's very fluent after making that process from catching the ball to running. So I love that. He doesn't shy away from contact, and he doesn't shy away from contact at the catch point either. Whether he's a ball carrier or trying to make a catch, doesn't shy away from that contact. Does a good job of securing balls in traffic. Doesn't happen often, though, in terms of like him being in traffic, because this dude separates exceptionally well. And I love that he's always playing towards the football. When the ball's in air, he's going after it at its highest point. He wants to be the first guy to touch the ball. Size, not ideal, but it's not bad. It's not terrible. I mean, 5'10", 180. It's not great, but it's not a death nail. But he's exclusively been operating in the slot. With his career snaps, they're over 80% in the slot. Almost half his yards have come off screens. So there are a few red flags that, okay, some of this is schemed up, a lot of his production schemed up. Drops were an issue back in 2021, been a bit better this year. So there's going to be concerns that he's just a slot guy that might have to what was where I'm looking for scheme up stuff. But I'm just saying, man, a lot of people really liked Wandale, And I feel a lot better about Josh Downs than I did Wandale. So, big fan, big fan. Now let's get into some of the more disputed prospects. Starting with Kayshon Boutte, former 5-star recruit, pedigree is there. Saw significant action his freshman season. Had a breakout sophomore campaign before the ankle injury. Did have 2 procedures on the ankle done before this season. And I guess we could just kind of talk about what happened this season, because that Arizona, and this is specifically why I was looking for a Brian Kelly, Kayshon Boutte pitcher, man, because I just think it's funny. But he wasn't a focal point of the offense in week 1, that Arizona State game. He also had, I would say, 1 bad drop. The other was understandable. Like, the dude hit the ground exceptionally hard. Would have been a touchdown, is what it is. The other one would have been a touchdown too, just wasn't expecting it. And it just seemed like, he wasn't the focal point. It was basically Jaden Daniels and, hey, if your first read's not open, run the football. And after the game, you could tell he was frustrated. After the game, he scrubbed his social media of everything LSU, but then he came back and played the following week against Southern University, and he's played. I'm just excited that he's played. While the production isn't what we were accustomed to prior, I'm just happy that he's playing football for LSU, that they were able to mend what's going on. And to be fair, the offense has looked a lot better in recent weeks. Has been more explosive. So I don't know, man. Some people might be like, oh, total diva. But I feel like there's a lot of humility in coming back after doing all that and just being like, you know what? I don't have to be the focal point of this offense. I just want to come in here and give my team the best chances of winning, because he really hasn't been the focal point of the offense, even though it feels like he should be. And so I don't know. I think you go both ways. Like, if you be like, oh, diva, and it's like, okay, well, look at the humility to have to come back after doing all that, after openly expressing your frustrations. Like, there's a lot of humility in just saying, you know what, I'm wrong. I'm not bigger than the team. Let's go ahead. Let's win games. So I don't know. Take it as you may. I'll just say that. But I love this dude's. This dude's got great awareness of the field and everywhere, like everyone on it. Like he runs defenders into teammates and referees. Like, this was a lot more obviously in 2020, 2021, since he hasn't really been a big part of the offense this year. But you've seen that on tape. He's made tiptoe catches in the back of the end zone or on the sideline. He's like a running back with the ball in his hands. As you saw that in 2021, where he had 12 forced missed tackles on only 37 receptions. He does a great job on his release, and he wins with a combination of speed and quicks. Like, he's a legit separator. This dude back in 2021 was consistently getting the best of SEC competition. Guys who are now in the NFL, Roger McCreary, Martin Emerson, getting the best of those guys. A guy that had to go against in practice guys like Derek Steenley and Eli Ricks, who just had a banger game against Mississippi State. So it's like, yeah, dude's actually a really good prospect. It's just this year's kind of been like, it really has. The ankle initially was my biggest question coming into the year, but it looks like he's recovered fine from it, and there's not much of, I would say there's not, he's retained some of that explosiveness. Like, that was my concern. Will he be as explosive? It looks like it. Drops have been an issue, we'll say. He did struggle against more physical corners in the SEC, guys like Patrick Surtain and Khair Elam. So got to throw that up there. But I think hands are probably the biggest question mark for me. But still see this dude as a top 50, man. Don't know if he comes out, man, but big fan. Now we got my first round wide receiver being Jackson Smith-Njigba. He doesn't have a top 20 grade. I like him better, probably around pick 20 to that late first round. And he's been hampered by a hamstring injury this season. Missed 4 games with the injury. Only 4 receptions on the year. Obviously, his other teammates are just kind of playing exceptionally good football. So it's like, a lot of people are doing like the comparison thing, like, oh well, these guys are better. Obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba is the much worse talent. But I mean, they did this last year with Jackson Smith and Jigba, where they were like, oh, Jackson Smith Jigba is better than guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, and it's like, just calm down, man. Y'all, some of y'all, not all y'all, but some of y'all, and I get it sometimes. Sometimes I'm the same. I could do this with certain prospects. Y'all are just so of the moment, rather than kind of like looking ahead, looking at the bigger picture, or even pulling from the past, like being like, okay, well, like this cat was a vital point to the Ohio State offense in 2021. Like, he may be like, I would say he's a slot only option, but like, this dude's shifty. He's a smooth athlete. Half of his yards came after the catch. 19 forced missed tackles back in 2021. And he just looks like a running back with the ball in his hands. He tracks the ball exceptionally well in air and over his shoulder. He shows good focus, strong hands, has that about 5 to 6% miss or drop rate back in 2021, and he uses his hands well during the route. And guess what? If you just want to add a bit more to this, crisp route runner, and dude is a physical run blocker. He adds to your run game. Biggest knock, I think, on Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be his speed. That he's not like a high end, like not a guy you would expect as a high end receiving like in terms of just athletically. Like athletically, he's not going to be like this elite 40-time guy, or maybe even like the 3-cone inside. Well, actually, I think the 3-cone will actually be pretty darn well. But like the 40 time's not going to be great. But I mean, we did that with Drake London, and dude went in the top 10. He was the first receiver off the board, I think. Yeah, first receiver off the board. If anything, the biggest thing for me is 88.6% of his snaps came in the slot. This guy is a slot receiver. And you know what? That's not bad. Guess what? Cooper Kupp is a slot receiver. And that dude tearing it up. Listen, if you're a team that wants to utilize the slot receiver position, then Jackson Smith-Njigba is your guy. So I still think, based on what he did in 2021, warrants a first-round look. You just got to understand what he is. Now, on to my top 2 prospects. Jordan Addison here at number 20. After transferring from Pittsburgh, has blown it up at USC. Luckily, it sounds like the ankle injury, not that severe. He's listed as day-to-day, so we're going to get to see him a bit more this season, which I really like. If you didn't know, this guy was a Biletnikoff award winner in his sophomore year last year for Pittsburgh. But as far as the prospect, dude, he's so stinking explosive. Like, he plays with legit game-breaking speed. He can put corners in a blender, and his cuts and double moves are just, I love him. Despite being thin, he attacks the ball exceptionally well in the air, and he will attack the ball if he needs to, and displays very strong hands at the catch point, though drops were an issue back at Pittsburgh, as he was 11%. Though, again, much better this year. You love the tightrope balance, the elite stop-start ability, 21 forced missed tackles in 2021. My biggest gripe was, okay, majority of his snaps came out of the slot there at Pittsburgh. Well, this year he's playing on the outside and looks wonderful. I do worry about the lack of physicality. This isn't Devontae Smith we're dealing with, where he overcame despite the size, like despite the thinness. Addison is a guy that might struggle to get off of press, and he could get bodied during the route. But like what he just brings from a game break-in perspective is just next level. And then y'all should have saw this country mile away. Quentin Johnston is my wide receiver 1. I'm listing him as a top 10. I'm glad that he has come alive these last 3 weeks, and I'm glad that they're throwing his way in general. This dude was a 4-star recruit from the 2020 class who saw a bit of playing time his freshman year. He led TCU in receiving yards and touchdowns in 2021, despite missing 3 games with a mild hyperextended knee. And then really slow start to start the year, but turned it around in that Kansas game. had another banger game the following week against Oklahoma State and looked very good this week. The dude's a competitor. I love that. He spent 2021 he spent the 2021 Oklahoma State game just literally mossing the secondary. You just see that this guy has this whole Terminator, like, I would say, I don't know, not persona, atmosphere, charisma. I don't know how to put it, but like, it's like, I'm better than you and I know it. MJF, yo, salt of the earth. But like, it's like that every play against whoever's facing off against him. Like that Oklahoma game 2021, it's a feast on the eyes. Go watch it. Literally looking down at this guy as he just ripped the ball out of this defender's hands in the end zone. And he was like, I gotta let you know, not on my level. Even this year in the Kansas game, dude, just eating contact and just like the swag. I guess swag is the best way to put it. Like, I love this guy's mentality, dude. I just love it. He's a prototypical X wide receiver, great size, great length, shows off very strong hands, tracks the ball exceptionally well in air, though he had that hiccup in the Kansas game at the end of the first half where I don't think he knew there was a guy over the top of him. But I feel like when you're taking a shot towards the end zone as the half's about to be over, you should kind of expect there to be help over the top. But again, that's one case scenario. It's not nitpick here. But this dude is just so physical. He's tough to bring down after the catch. I love it. I'm loving it, dude. So physical, man. I just love everything about him. This dude just constantly flexes on corners. It's great. There are times, I will say this, he could be a bit too high on his get off, and he can get a bit muscled at the line by more physical corners that just get under him. Again, doesn't happen often, but it did happen. But it has happened. Not a sudden athlete, if that's who you're looking for, a sudden athlete. No, this guy does it the old-fashioned style. He knows how to get separation by using his body and being a very solid route runner. And he's just like, I'm tough to bring down. I'm a big boy. That's how he gets it done, and I like it. This dude just wins with body and good launch speed. I think he's going to be a 4.4 guy. I really do. And you might worry about the down-to-down separation. I don't think it'll be a concern. He's my number one. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. That's it for the video. Got the other two prospect rankings. I think they'll be both out tomorrow, so if you want to check those out, check them out. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.